Hey, before I get into this video, I want to mention that this is, of course, a story-related video. If you intend to pick up BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, probably don't watch this video until you've played through the story mode, unless you intend not to. If you're on the fence and you're not quite sure whether you want to pick it up or not, I'm going to quickly just say what I think about the game without spoiling anything. The story mode is meh, and I can get into more details about that if you want to continue to watch the video, but you will run into spoilers. But the online is fantastic. BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle continues to impress me with more interesting gameplay the more and more characters I get to play with. Absolutely worth picking up if you're interested in specifically online play. Enjoy the rest of the discussion. So hopefully this isn't going to be a particularly long video, but I want to talk about the BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle story mode. And I feel like this is important for a lot of people because it might feel a little bit daunting to jump into a BlazBlue game, especially if you've never played one before, even if it is Cross Tag Battle, which is very much not about BlazBlue, because you don't know any of the characters. So that story mode ends up becoming quite important because you need to understand who these characters are, even if you haven't played Under Night, or you haven't played Persona, or you haven't watched Ruby, or you haven't played any of the BlazBlue games. This game is designed to bring all those characters together, so this game should be able to give you some context as to what those characters are. And that context, theoretically, should be the story mode, which has been named the episode mode in this game. What I like about the episode mode is that it allows you to see the story from multiple different characters' perspective. The disappointing thing about the episode mode is everything else. The fights are incredibly easy and don't get any more difficult as the game progresses, which is obviously quite disappointing. The story itself I actually quite liked. The interactions between all the characters was very engaging and it taught me a lot about the characters. I now know that I love the character Rachel. Everything she says amuses me. There are other examples, but honestly, if I list them all, I'll be listing most of the roster. Heck, I even like some character moments from Wolstein in the story, despite not liking Wolstein at all as a character. But that's just it. The good things about the story is the interactions. Everything else, the actual structure of the story, the way the story is told, the decisions made in the story, and the ending to the story, some of the most important things about storytelling, are quite flawed. Which, to be clear, I wasn't expecting an amazing story mode from Cross Tag Battle, but I was hoping for something a bit better. Especially because the initial premise of the story mode quite intrigued me. I'll give the premise because it's not really much of a spoiler. They tell you this in the prologue for the game. Basically, a very advanced computer system has created an alternate universe, and it's grabbed all these different worlds. In this case, it's grabbed the Under Night world, the Persona world, the BlazBlue world. Maybe next time it will grab the Guilty Gear world, and it's also grabbed the Ruby world. And the computer is forcing them to partake in this tournament, and it's not allowing you to do 1 versus 1 fights. So Ruby might run around in the world on her own, and then run into 2 people who want to fight, and the computer system won't let them until someone else shows up and helps Ruby. This allows them to be able to fit in the tag concept of the game into the story, and I think it does a pretty good job of doing that. Again, this story interests me, especially because of the way that they were doing it. They were allowing you to fight characters that aren't even in the game yet. You can fight Hakumen and you can fight Carmine in the story. I'm sure there's other examples I can't think of at the time. Now, how are the individual episodes actually told? They're told roughly about how you would expect. I believe the BlazBlue one is the one that was meant to consider canon, and the rest of them are kind of just fun. I've only played through BlazBlues and Rubies at the moment, and I have to say, I'm thoroughly disappointed with Rubies. They end up in this mysterious world, which is the world we were talking about at the beginning, the world that the computer AI created, and they just decide to split up. And for the rest of the story, you basically follow Ruby, and I mean just Ruby, not Team Ruby, just the character Ruby Rose, as she wanders through the rest of the story. And she sometimes is with Weiss, and then Weiss decides to split up, and then Weiss is just off doing her own thing. It was really quite frustrating because obviously at the end the good guys win, and the good guys at the end say, oh, I think we've improved as a team, and I was just so frustrated when they said that, because it's like, you were never together in this story at all until the very end. Speaking of the end, the ending is not good. So these kind of like Horcrux style items, the Infinity Stones, whatever you want to call them, the thing that the characters need to get in the story, and in this case they are these, I've forgotten what they are. They're like stones, but they've got a specific name. They're something stones. You can tell how much I cared at the end. But the idea was that you're meant to collect these stones, and then once you've got all of them, you can return to your world. And thematically enough, they were all colored for their respective universes. Ruby started off with the red one because, of course, Ruby Rose. Ragnar starts off with the blue one because, of course, BlazBlue. I would assume Hyde starts off with the purple one, although I haven't played the Under Night story yet. And, of course, the Persona franchise, I believe it will be... Who is even the main character? I suppose it would be you, or heck, maybe even Yosuke, but I would imagine it would just be you. Regardless, at the end, whichever story you're playing, in the case of Ruby, it will be the red stone, ends up taking its true form, and it's basically this massive monster-ish thing that attacks you with all these different styles of attacks, and it's kind of just this big boss battle thing, and it looks like you're playing Contra or something, which wasn't too bad. It's just not what I want in my fighting game. I am going to force myself to play through the story on the other episodes with the other characters, but I have to say it's not something I'm looking forward to, and the reason why is because I've managed to somehow be disappointed with the BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle story, which is surprising to me because I didn't need much from this. I don't think anybody needed much from this. I think what people needed was these characters coming together, interacting with each other, fighting each other, and then have a big climax at the end where the bad guys lose and the good guys win. And whilst we sort of did get that, the bad guy wasn't someone we cared about. People talk about Steppenwolf being a bad villain in Justice League. You haven't seen anything until you've seen this villain, especially if you look at the Ruby ending, where she's an entirely different character by the end. I think the idea, for people who are familiar with the Ruby ending and how these stones work, the way that it got so powerful is that it learnt from Ruby, it drew a connection with Ruby, and by the end, once it's defeated, it's meant to have enough Ruby in her that she sees the error of her ways and she's much more excited to explore new worlds. Another way to interpret that ending is that she needs to explore the world to gain more power, just like she did this time around, but either way, I'm not too pleased. I hope if they do decide to do a Cross Tag Battle 2 in the future, have it be a mastermind behind the AI, and then end up fighting that mastermind rather than some gargantuan monster thing where we have to zoom out the screen and then kind of fight like that. It's just not intuitive. It's not difficult. It just feels like I'm playing a bad shooter platform thing. It's just not good. And for that to be the final thing that you do in the story mode, it's obviously quite altered my experience of the story mode, because before that I would have said I was having quite a lot of fun with the story, but to see Ragnar fight something that large, or to see any character really fight anything that large in this particular world, it feels like we're pushing in two different directions with these characters, and I don't know. I didn't enjoy it. Maybe you guys did. Maybe somebody out there did. And I hope you did, because at the end of the day, I want everyone to be enjoying all the video games, but I cannot say that I'm happy with BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle story. That being said, I would still absolutely 100% recommend BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, even if it's just for the online play, because it is one of the best fighting games released this year. My name has been BlazBlue. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Who knows what it's going to be? It's probably going to be Cross Tag Battle related. Let's be real. I'll see you then.
Through a lot, but I think fighting in that world made us stronger. It made us stronger as a team. Team Ruby, level up!
How did it make you stronger as a team when none of you fought as a team at all? Oh, okay. Oh, it's fine.
What is that? The Keystones?
I'm so glad you're here!
Yeah, and just in the nick of time. Looks like you're in a jam.
This would be incredibly hype, but I know for a fact we're not playing as any of the fun characters here. We're playing as Ruby and Weiss, the characters we've been playing since beta. Blake, Yang, stay back and protect S and Ragnar.
Yang, Blake, can you guys keep them safe?
I'm so sad, dude.